Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock of the Emerald Planet and Emerald Planet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technology, services, and products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we have a planet of 9 billion people by 2038 and possibly 12 to 13 billion by the end of this century, how are we going to be able to take care of all these people on planet Earth? And that's what Emerald Planet's all about. We come to you looking at the solutions, the best practices from around the globe as we create the Emerald Planet. Hello, welcome to the Emerald Planet. We're making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And seeing the long-term impacts of climate change. We're glad to have you. Thank you for being with us.
We're talking about the Monarch Sister Schools program, Natural Partners, and the Monarch butterflies, and how they are the poster childs as far as the pollinating the plants, the food, about 50% of it that humans eat actually come through the pollinators, very important. But also it's very important to join together because the monarchs travel across, live in 3 different countries, Mexico, the United States, and Canada. And also through the Monarch Sister Schools program, we're talking about how we have the interaction of the students with the teachers, the parents, and the communities in each of these countries. And we have William H. Bill Dent, who is the Executive Director of Natural Partners, also Executive Director of the Monarch Sister Schools program, and co-chair for Trees for the Capital of the Rotary Club of Washington, D.C. And Bill, welcome back to the Emerald Planet.
Dr. Sam, thank you. It's great to be here.
Always good to have you. And looking at joining the 3 countries together, this is really a NAFTA project, if you will. But a lot of the interactions between Mexico and the United States. Tell us why the monarchs are traveling back and forth and really becoming ambassadors for our countries among human beings.
Yes, we see the monarch as, shall we say, a bridge between the countries because they literally move. They're citizens of all 3 countries. They may be born in Canada, travel to the United States, and spend the winter in Mexico. So it's a beautiful butterfly, and it's a shared species, and it's something that we can all rally and unite around.
Yeah. Looking at this tracking device that's actually on the butterfly, tell us about the nature or the origin as far as this tracking device and why these are so important.
Yes, well, originally we didn't even know that the butterflies in Canada or northern U.S. were the same ones that spend the winter or in Mexico. And it was through Mr. Urquhart who developed a very primitive version of these little tags. They're extremely light. It's not really a burden for the monarchs. And the National Wildlife Foundation and others have developed these tags and used them to confirm the routes, the migratory routes of the monarchs. And they all converge, as it turns out, on the Rio Grande before going down to Mexico on their journey south. Then they spend 4.5 months in the forest, Oyamel Forest of Michoacan. And you and I have been there. And it's quite a sight with millions of them congregating, coming off the trees in the afternoon and flying around, enjoying the sunlight. But it's truly an amazing connection with nature to see this species that manages to return to the very same place, the same groves of trees as where their great-grandparents were, and then find their way back to Texas.
I just think it's absolutely incredible. Tell us a little bit about this area of Mexico. Why is it so important? And why do you think the monarch butterflies ended up being able to nest in this very specific place, and they come back on an annualized basis.
Mhm. Well, the monarch is a tropical butterfly in the sense that its eggs will not survive the winter up north. So somehow, we don't know if it goes back a million years or how long it is, but at some point they started making this migration, and they make this journey south and then the journey back north. The journey south is done by this Methuselah generation. They spend the 4.5 months in the forest of Morelia. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see Sitaquero. Anyway, in that area where the arrow is. And that's the area where they go. There's a volcanic mountain range that connects the Sierra Madre east with the Sierra Madre west. And for some reason, the monarchs love the OML tree, which is found from altitude about 7,500 feet up to 10,000 feet. And
Yeah, this is really a beautiful area, and I've been there twice now. There's much activity goes on in these communities centered around the monarchs. But tell us how the monarch actually has become a part of the folklore, and also why it's important to the schools and the children that they be involved with the monarch butterfly. And then we'll talk about how that actually then transcends back into the sister schools and uh, the the sister and brother connections they have between the children and the teachers between the two countries.
Mhm. Great question. Well, the monarchs leave this area, Washington, D.C., in late September, and they get down to Mexico around the 1st of November. And the native people, and actually many of the communities where we work, are indigenous communities, and they have a tradition called the Day of the Dead. And the monarchs, for them, represent returning souls. And as a part of the cultural exchange that we do between the U.S. schools and the Mexican schools down there near the Monarch Butterfly Biosphere Reserve, we have, as one of the sessions we do via Skype, is a session on a tradition. So the month of November in Mexico is the Day of the Dead, and that's very colorful. It's something that's very close to each family. They're remembering the family members who've passed. And then, of course, in the U.S., the month of November is Thanksgiving. So the U.S. kids usually will talk about our tradition of Thanksgiving, what it means in the family gatherings, too.
Now, working with the schools, that's a brilliant idea to start with the children. Then you're reaching to the teachers and then out to the parents and again into the greater community. But why have the schools in Mexico so much involved with the schools in Washington, D.C. and the United States?
Well, we were very fortunate to find a great program coordinator in Mexico, Jesus Arriaga. And the first school that we worked with was the school pictured in the image here. But as I said, we really wanted to involve the younger generation in the problem of the declining populations of the pollinators in general and the monarchs specifically. The monarch population at one point was down 90%. And it's been gradually building back, but it's far from what it was. And that's why the planting of the gardens in the US, which is the breeding habitat, and the restoration of the forest down in Mexico, which were suffering from illegal logging and now are suffering from plantations of avocados. And so we've gotten the kids involved in raising baby trees. And once a year at the beginning of the rainy season, which is June, the kids, we finance their going up into the forest in areas that either have been burned or logged to do a restoration project.
Now, looking at the children in the classroom, how do you involve them with not just the trees, but also learning about the science as far as the monarchs, the trees, the vegetable gardens? What are they actually, what types of educational skills are they gaining through the curricula that's been developed for them?
Mm-hmm. Well, our program coordinator, Jesus Arriaga, whom I mentioned, he does a series of supplemental workshops with the kids with hands-on activities that supplement what the teachers are doing. And it's a perfect fit with the existing curriculum, and we've been very well accepted. And as a matter of fact, we are in discussions with government authorities to look for ways that we could expand the program into more schools, because they find that the kind of enrichment we provide is really a good thing.
Now, looking at this diagram here, we've seen this before, but now we're using this in Mexico, and a lot of the educational materials developed in the United States is now being shared there. So how does this supplement the studies that they're doing as far as the science, even geography, history, soils, agronomy? There's so many different lessons that can come out of just the monarch butterfly and its whole life cycle.
Yes, so this image literally captures the life cycle. Then there's the migration. So there's that part, which is science, but then there are a lot of other activities that Jesus does in Mexico and our coordinator here in the US does that supplement the learning. So there's STEM, stands for science, technology, engineering, and math, which is a very in thing in the schools. And we have schools here in Washington, D.C. that are, quote, STEM schools. We add A for arts, and the kids do a lot of drawing, which heightens their powers of observation. It's very participatory. Keep a science journal. And also we do have workshops on other subjects, such as climate change.
And these textbooks are very important for them. But I tell you, getting out in nature, and actually I've been to the site where we have this photograph taken, this interaction between the soil, the trees, the vegetation, the adults. How do you see this really changing education in Mexico, but also just the protection of the environment itself? And that we'll probably go out on that question, Bill.
Okay. Well, it does create a lot of awareness, but these are hands-on activities that literally connect the kids with plants, and plants are very important in our lives, whether it's the vegetable gardens or the role of the pollinators, understanding that, because what we're trying to promote is a more sustainable lifestyle. These are rural communities, and these are skills that the kids can use and maybe keep them connected with the land.
And also keep them connected with the monarchs. And this is the last question, Bill. What do you see for the protection through the schools, the interactions, their forestry projects to actually protect these very monarchs we're looking at right here? And they've got to be quick. I'm going to go about 10 seconds.
Well, in Mexico, it's the overwintering habitat. If those trees aren't there, the monarchs aren't going to have any place. They won't have the shelter that they need. And the forest also has a lot of flowers, which provides the nectar for them so they can survive the winter.
Okay, this is Bill Dent, Natural Partners, also the Monarch Sister School program, as we create the Emerald Planet.